Well, you've had, I mean, probably one of the biggest back catalogues I've seen in drum and bass. And I was, I mean, I know where my beginnings were with finding you, and we'll come to that in a minute. But I did notice that one of your official first releases was an actual album, wasn't it? It wasn't a single. It wasn't on an EP of various artists. But it's 2004. I believe you had, I've actually noted this down because I'd never heard the label, V-Net Music. So, I mean, that was quite bold. That was quite bold to do an album there, wasn't it, to start with? What made you do that? Come out with your first release.
First of all, coming from the metal scene, there's no singles in the metal scene.
No.
You do albums, you do stories, you create concepts. That was something that to me was really important from the beginning. But, you know, I'm going to disappoint you a little here and just say, like, V-Net Music Development was just a net label that I put together with a friend of mine, and he gave me that platform. He gave me the server. He gave me everything to be able to put it online. It was the first time I actually had, I mean, you could say it could have become a full-blown label in its own right. But in the beginning, it was just like, you know, I didn't know where to upload my music. I didn't know what to do.
It was a self-release. It was almost like you've got your own little Bandcamp place kind of thing, I suppose.
Exactly. And he basically put that together for me, and I'm so thankful to him. So still to this day, we're still very good friends. And that album, well, you know, I did what I wanted to do, and it was, admittedly, it was a very. If you go through that album and you listen to it, you realize that, yeah, this is like, you know, a guy just delving into electronic music. It sounds like a lot of demos with some ideas that had a lot of potential. Like, for sure, there were some tracks there that I'm like, hey, that bass line was great, but then the rest of the track isn't. Or then the next three tracks are like, yeah, this is just a bit of experimental stuff. But the thing is, drum and bass for me back then, like we're talking, as you said, 2004, I remember some of the first drum and bass tracks that I heard were like, do you remember an act called, I think it was Infiltrator or something like that?
Yeah, a US act.
Yeah, Light Fracture Dark.
Yeah.
This album was released on mp3.com, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That's what, to me, drum and bass was. It was this like industrial, fast-paced, very sort of like all this techie sound, so to say, all this it sounded like dark sci-fi music, you know. And I think I was trying to do a bit more of that. Then I slowly discovered other stuff like, you know, like Congo Natty and all of this classic, like, which was another place where the drum and bass sound came from, like, you know, breakbeat jungle and ragged jungle, breakbeat hardcore, and all these like genres that also gave birth to what drum and bass is. But, you know, I came from the darker side of it, and obviously I found a home in that darker sounds, like, you know, the older Freak Recordings catalog, Obscene Recordings, Current Value, all that stuff, Dylan, like all those guys that, to me, I had so much respect for them still, you know. And
that was my opening into drum and bass really around that time. So it's funny you should mention Infiltrator. I've probably not thought of that name for a very long time, but that's again one of the first artists that I come across with you. Like I say, obviously Keaton on Renegade Hardware, Noise's early releases, and of course Chasing Status were doing that kind of stuff back then as well, and Zardonic. And I think most of this music I actually found it on SoulSeek. That's where I found it, because you go on a tangent and you find new things, and it's like that was the discovery period, the honeymoon period for me.
I'm gonna give you a tip here. Like, I mean, these days, honestly, if you can afford it, buy the music, because I think we should support each other, support the drum and bass economy, whatnot. So if a track is released and I can buy it, I'll get it from either Beatport or Bandcamp. Bandcamp is usually friendlier and better quality. So I usually go to Bandcamp first, so I can find the artist directly and I can give the money directly to the artist. Then I go to Beatport. If I don't find it there, I go back to SoulSeek. It's still a thing. Yeah. And a lot of my old demos that never got any releases, they're still there because I was sharing them myself. Yeah. So I found my own music by going back to SoulSeek.
Yeah.
There's even an app for Android. I'll tell you which one it is. You'll be surprised. You'll probably feel like, you know, like it's 20 years ago and you're still discovering music. At least for the music that you cannot find anymore. I don't think that's
it was the key for me to discover music. There was no other way back then really to actually do it in those early noughties. I mean, just touching on like your album as well. I mean, this was way ahead of its time. I mean, you put out a digitally only album in a time where digital was just about coming. I mean, there was no Beatport then or anything like that. It was very hard to actually make any money at that time. I mean, I'd around that time, I'd just started my first record label and I was putting out vinyl. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't until the late noughties the digital really started to kind of get somewhere a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that must have been hard for, you know, to actually get the music heard. I mean, what made you go down that route and not think about, okay, well, let's invest that a little bit more into maybe vinyl? What made you go down a digital route when it was literally non-existent at the time?
I was 20 years old living with my parents and going to college. Where am I going to get the money to invest in it? I had no other choice. But I still wanted to put it out there. That was pretty much it. I wanted people to hear my music, and I was as loud and as bold as I could about it and as obnoxious as I could be about it. And maybe it was the wrong way to approach it. But, you know, when you're still trying to prove yourself, I guess you need to make a little bit of noise. Yeah, I mean, eventually the goal was to get a vinyl. That was the thing. And these days it's actually the other way around. It's funny because how you mentioned that, like those days, I don't think we sold a single MP3 from that album. I think these days, if you find it on SoulSeek. Yeah. If you find it, maybe if it's interesting for you to give it a listen. But like I said, it's nothing I'm really proud of. It's part of my way, but I think the first track that I think was something that I'm proud of, that actually even that's how I met the DJ producer, because he bought this track. It was like he was looking for dubs and he bought the vinyl that had it. It was a track that I did called Her Lust for Blood. It's basically just Amen all the way, just raw Amen from beginning to end. And I love that. I think it was the first track that I feel, you know, had some sense to it, so to say. It was a more consolidated sound. And then after that, what else? 2007 wasn't really a lot going on, a couple of things here and there. But then 2008, there was Policia, which was the first track that I think got me. I wouldn't say it got international attention to the project, but at least the track got international attention. Like DJ Hype was playing it, Andy Seaworth was playing it, and
I hammered it. In fact, it was the first track of yours I actually bought. I literally hammered that track. There was a ton of remixes on it as well, from what I remember, weren't there? There was a few different mixes of the track, I think.
No, I don't think we ever did remixes of Policia, but that's a great idea, because I want to bring that track back. I've been in touch with Messinian. I've been in touch with Messinian because we want to redo it basically from scratch, because I lost the project. And we want to redo it. We also want to give it a bit of a fresh update, so it's more current day event.
What's up, everyone? Lee UHF here, the host of DNB Wraps. Thank you for watching our videos. If you like what you're hearing and seeing on the channel, please make sure you're subscribing to it. Please make sure you thumbs up the videos, and more importantly, let's get some comments going as well. It really helps the channel, and in order for us to provide this content to you, we do need the channel to grow. So we can't do this without your help. Hope you enjoy the video. Speak to you soon.